This is going to be Slave Pens as a Blood Death Knight. So skipping ahead a little bit, showing a new character here. Falny, my Death Knight. I've had her around for a little while, but wanted to wait for Anikel to catch up to her. And the two can sort of do dungeons together, and I'll take whichever one goes better between the two. This one went better for Falny, so get to see a Death Knight. Death Knight tank. Feels pretty good. Wasn't hard to get used to. I don't get the option of going back through all the classic... Well, I kind of do, but, you know, not in a good way. So you kind of just start right in Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King area, and learn from there. So yeah, a whole bunch of buttons to learn on a new class all at once, which is fine. They're not all that complicated. Kind of mostly just pay attention to my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 occasionally. I hear Druid sounds, so yeah, Druid, Healer, Hunter, some kind of Rogue or Windwalker, and something else. That's an Arcane Mage, okay. So right, number 1, Heart Strike. Pretty basic melee ability. I use those runes up there under my resource bar. So runes power some of my abilities. Runic Power generates and powers some of the others. So Heart Strike hits a couple of targets. It's kind of like Hammer of the Righteous, sort of. Kind of like Revenge once I get to Protection Warrior. So yeah, that's my basic attack. Costs 1 rune, I think. Use it all the time. It's pretty good. Number 2 is Death Strike. So, oh yeah, right, okay, so I can get an instant death and decay sometimes, right. So number 2 is Death Strike, uses runic power and heals me for an amount based on how much damage that I've taken recently. So if I have a bunch of runic power built up, that's the button I want to press to get some healing. I think it costs like 40 runic power and it caps at 100, so you can't just like hit it over and over. But yeah, so it's some percentage of the damage I've recently taken with a minimum, so I'll always get back something like 10% of my health when I Heart Strike. Sorry, not Heart Strike, Death Strike. What am I doing? Oh yeah, Death Grip. Death Knight's signature ability. It's super nice. So it both acts as a taunt and moves the enemy to right in front of me. It's a very good ability. That was Death and Decay. Used to have this super cool effect and very distinctive sound, but now it's much less flashy. I like the old one better. But the new one's fine too. Yeah, so Death and Decay, very much like Consecration, but you decide where to place it. It doesn't just go right at your feet. But yeah, effectively just like a Consecration. Blood Boil, that's my number 3. Has 2 charges, hits everything around, and applies ticking damage effect. And those 4 are pretty much the buttons I press. Number 5 is Marrow Rend. That's my defensive ability. So it gives me a bone shield for a little while. So I press my 5 key when I need to take less damage. 6 is Mind Freeze, Standard Interrupt. It's ranged, so yeah, standard ranged interrupt. 7 can apply Blood Plague from a distance, so if I want to hit something far away, that's... I forget what it's called. It's like... No, I forget what it's called. It has a name, I just don't know it. Then other abilities, you know, 0 is Dark Command, Standard Taunt, minus is Death Grip. Equal is a thing that moves me faster for a little bit. 9 is Bag of Tricks, that should be familiar. All Volpera get that. And 8 is Dancing Rune Weapon. I'll probably use it right here. It summons an extra little floating sword thingy. There it is. It's in there somewhere. Which basically like doubles up all the attacks that I'm doing. So use it when I want to hit harder. And like, I think it might also do stuff like double the healing from Death Strike. Let Heart Strike hit more targets, maybe? I don't know exactly. Haven't, like, super closely read up or experimented with its exact behavior. Alright, so that was Men of the Betrayer. Yeah, so Slave Pens. Not a place I feel like I've run a whole lot. I wasn't super familiar with the layout. I did a practice run on a different character, just so I'd know exactly where I was going before I came in as the leader. It's not complicated, just a couple of twists and turns that are kind of missable. You can go left or right here. I chose right. Yeah, so I did a run on this with my Paladin. By the way, this run happened just like a couple of days ago. This is a very recent one. Paladin is same level as Death Knight at this point. So those two are sort of leveling up together, doing the same dungeons, and I'll show whichever one is whichever one's the better one. I want to get some more tank classes to right around that level range, just so I have additional options, I guess. I don't know. Some variety. Yes, so my Paladin's run here was like super messy and weird and didn't go so well. This one is just smooth as butter. Like, nothing goes wrong here. Everything is great. Then it was the opposite for some earlier stuff I did with the same character. So you'll be seeing Anikal running Hellfire Ramparts and Blood Furnace, just because Falney's runs in those were like super messy for some reason. I mean, part of the reason was just because they were the first dungeons I entered with her, and I was still learning where all my buttons were. Death's Advance. Number equals. Almost got me enough movement speed to land there and take a bunch of fall damage, but not quite. As far as movement options, Death Knight doesn't get a lot just from what I understand. Death's Advance is cool, but it's just a 30% move speed increase for not very long, with a decent cooldown. Not nearly as fast as Divine Steed, nowhere near as good as Chi Torpedo, which I guess you haven't seen because Farron still has Roll at this point with what I've shown. It's like Roll, but better. Here's a quest thing. Come up here if you're on the quest. Don't bother if you're not. Go right back down and go to the left. Don't know what that text box says, but it's there. You can pause and read it if you want to, I guess. I never have. Somebody I'm looking for who's dead, I guess. And I bring back news of his death to the quest giver at the start of the dungeon, I suppose. So yeah, this mage wants to be attacking, but does know how to wait until an appropriate time to do it, for the most part. I saw him stop right there and hold off with his Arcane Blast, or whatever it's called, until the appropriate time. Alright, so Rokmar the Crackler. I know this particular enemy pretty well. Has a super nasty enrage that tends to kill tanks. So I'm planning out how I'm going to handle it. I'm saving up all my... Oh yeah, there's like another row of abilities I haven't shown here. There's Icebound Fortitude, which I think decreases damage taken by 30% for a little while, and Vampiric Blood, which increases healing taken. I'll probably use both of them during his Enrage period, which is like after 20% health or so. Just to try to smooth things out. Because yeah, this dude can really catch a healer and a tank off guard if they don't know what to do for the last little bit of his health. So it looks like I used Marrow Rend. The Bone Shield's already gone, though. Oh yeah, I pulled a bunch of Runic Power. I used some Death Strike just to avoid capping it. But yeah, I had a Runic Power pool. There's that Enrage. Okay. So, Icebound Fortitude's up. Vampiric Blood is up. Death Strike. And I smoothed it out so much you wouldn't even know that he enraged. So I was, like, over-prepared for that. So that's how you can do Rokmar without the enrage being a problem. Just, like, save all your stuff for the last little bit of health. Otherwise, it's going to be scary. He'll probably die before he kills the whole party, but he'll probably kill you first if you're not prepared for it. I was fighting those right next to that on purpose, just so I could mine it without having to go too far out of my way. All of my characters, now that I got all the production professions covered, are miners and herbalists, just so I can get those things out in the world. Extra materials for the people who use them, but I really only need one of each of the production professions. Don't particularly have a need for more of those. Death Grip, so good. Somebody was running off to attack somebody else, and I can just get them right back. It is a fantastic ability. So essentially I have 2 taunts. 3 even. I get Gorfine's Grasp at some point, which is like a Death Grip on everything around me. Just pulls them all to me all at once. I haven't used it yet, but I do have it, and I read the tooltip. So it sounds like it's a area of effect Death Grip, which is pretty neat. Yeah, so Blood Death Knight particularly excels at positioning as far as tanks go. You know, Paladin can have Silencing Avenger's Shield. Warrior can charge in and get to all over the place. Monk can do stuff too. You know, everybody has their own way of handling this, but Death Knight is very direct. Just say, hey you, be where I am. And you don't have to worry about positioning. So like, you know, an archer, somebody who's not going to cooperatively just come to you if you silence or interrupt them. Death Knight can handle that. It is pretty cool. Wasn't sure how much I was going to like Blood these days, and it turns out it's like super really good. Protection Warrior is still my favorite tank, but Blood Death Knight is up there for sure. I say it's my favorite. And then, well, I mean, I'm in a weird situation with my warrior. Like, I have a level 88 warrior who I haven't been playing as protection up until this point. I do have a second one now who I am leveling and, you know, learning from scratch how to play protection these days. It's fun. It's good. It's very solid. You'll see him at some point, I'm sure. The plan is once he gets to an appropriate level where, you know, his abilities have basically caught up with my Taran's available abilities at her level. I'll switch back over to her since she's my main one, and then you'll see her playing the protector role once we get into the, you know, high 80s, early 90s and stuff. That's the idea, but we're a long way off from that. Alright, so another quest thing here, again, can be skipped if you're doing this dungeon for not the first time. But let this dude out of his cage, somebody already did it. Couple of Naga enemies come from that hallway, so be ready for them. It's nothing serious, just, you know, be ready for it. Oh yeah, and doesn't something kind of funny happen with Quagmiran here? Alright, so Quagmiran, last boss, little bit annoying position. He's like way down there under the water. Nowhere near. I think he actually wanders back and forth. I've just always happened to, yeah, he's walking. Always happened to get him into him when he's way down under the water. So I want him on land because that's just more convenient for everybody. And pulled him with a bag of tricks. I've chosen that as my spot. I try to death grip him. He's too big to death grip. Immune to the movement portion of it. So my hope is that this is a good enough place to be fighting him. Now that I have seen what ends up happening here. Yeah, so you want to be behind him for acid spray. He was in kind of a bad spot there, and the druid was not ready for it. So I'm without a healer for the second half of this fight. Probably want to just, like, keep on moving him right out to the middle of this landmass. Like, he can just be in motion right out until he's there. So Druid takes the blame for her own death, I guess. Because, I mean, she did kind of just stand there. But Quagmiran dies without me dying. I had enough healing and stuff to get through that. So that was nice. I don't have the means to resurrect her, so... wait, did she already leave? Yeah, I think so. We want to be at the start of the dungeon anyway, but... Man, he didn't have to leave. He could have just... Okay, well. Maybe she didn't have the quests. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so... Blood Death Knight. Oh yeah, there's Gorfine's Grasp. This is where I get it. Cool stuff. Yeah, so this character feels real good, and I feel like I understand how to play her already. So it's great. I'm sure you'll be seeing more of her at some point. Alright, see you next time.